Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of To The Point podcast. This is kind of my impromptu start to every podcast now. I am still dealing with a cold. I apologize for my voice. Sometimes I will cough. I'm going, but we're battling through. Like I said on Saturday, flu game, Michael Jordan, he did it. I can do it. His Bulls are on fire, so I feel it's only fair that we battle through here today. And maybe you can hear Shamus talk more than me because his voice sounds beautiful as always. But before we get into the Breaking Bad tonight, Shay, great to see you as always. And what's been on the go for you so far early into this week?
Juggy, it's not a cold. You're just on auto tune, buddy. You just got to turn it off.
Right. It's true. That's true.
No, it's things have been good. Yeah, nice little weekend home. Got to see the fam. Got to see a couple friends. Didn't make it to the Rangers game, which I was disappointed in. But no, think things were good, and just to see everybody was nice. But now it's back at her Monday morning, or well, Monday now Tuesday.
Yeah. No, yeah, Tuesday, and I don't know. I'll get your opinion on this because I know you'll know mine the second I ask the question, but November 16th. So we're halfway through November.
Yeah.
We are past Remembrance Day. Christmas trees being up. Is that a
No.
yes guy or a no guy for you?
That's a hard no guy for me.
Yeah.
If I see one, I automatically look down and shake my head. I even today I was at the grocery store and listening to Mariah Carey. I'm like, oh Jesus, like this early? Like I got to listen to this for a month straight.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, no, I see a Christmas tree and it's no guy for me. That's all day.
So you're in a new home. Are you guys gonna buy a Christmas tree this year?
No, we always even last year we put up we get one delivered. Yeah, we always do a donation one. There's one that goes you buy it and it's like donating to abused women.
Okay.
And we do that. Kennedy's done that the last couple of years, so we'll probably just continue to do that instead of just buying a fake tree. What about you? Are you big fake tree guy or big real tree guy?
I prefer no tree, but
oh, I forgot. You're an atheist. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that.
I would probably say I think mom has a fake tree, so I'll go with the fake one.
Okay.
Just but either one. Yeah, again, I'm not the biggest Christmas fan. I hate the music. There's a few good movies, but they're few and far between. But yeah, I think December, like a month from now, I think is the perfect. Like December 15th, I'm okay. Like December 1st is early. Like that's still a long time to go, I think. Anyway.
Yeah, well, you put up your tree now. I mean, it's got to be almost dead by the time Christmas rolls around. And what do you want to take a picture? We want to take a picture in front of a dead tree. Like that's not that much fun either. So I agree. Like, maybe you can spread it to like a couple weeks, maybe a little longer than that. But yeah, you don't want to be going 1st of December either. You're just bothering everybody.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I've seen a bunch and it's just driving me nuts. And the Christmas, I take a tree over Christmas music any day of the week. I hate it. I haven't found a song that I like yet. I like Taylor Swift's 10-minute rendition for Jake Gyllenhaal a hell of a lot more than I like Mariah Carey or.
That's a hot topic right now.
Yeah, like I listened to the song. I thought it was okay. Have you listened to it yet?
No, I guess it's the music video. Like there's this long, interesting music video that goes on and has something to do with grooming and yeah, but yeah, no, I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want any haters on the pod or get you canceled. So
hate.
Go Taylor, Team Taylor.
Tay. Yeah. Yeah. She likes to write about her ex-boyfriends. That we do know.
Yeah.
I actually like Jake Gyllenhaal for the most part, but
yeah, you can't say that now. No, I
hate him. I hate him now. Yeah. I hate him. I
have to.
He was good in that boxing movie, but I hate him. Also he's very good in Prisoners, but hey,
we'll name a couple more movies that's good in, but no, we don't like him anymore.
No, I don't like him personally. I like his characters, but I don't like him personally. But yeah, no, good for Tay. 10-minute song or a 10-minute rendition on Saturday Night Live TV. I don't know how the hell she got away with that one, but hey, haters going to hate. And we're not going to do that here today, because we got to talk about two great episodes of Breaking Bad, episodes 3 and episodes 4 of season 5. Last week, the main topics are obviously Mike, Jesse, and Walter moving forward as a threesome, moving in business, where Walt and Jesse are going to be cooking. Mike is handling the business, no questions asked. And basically, they're looking for a new place to cook. Saul is also involved in that discussion. But heading into this episode, Shay, it was really about all of Gus's men that were on the payroll that are now in jail. Their pay has been seized by the government, and Mike is trying to figure out a way to keep them from talking and really ratting him out and the rest of the operation.
Yeah, as we know, Lydia, this woman that obviously works higher up with the parent company to Los Polos, was kind of obviously scared that these 11 people were going to somehow rat her out and then kind of blow up, the rest of their operation. So, what does she do? She's so kind. She puts a hit out on all of them, including Mike. And Mike quickly puts a stop to that, but not without losing good friend Chow and another hitman. So, those guys are gone, but there's still 9 guys remaining. And like you said, some of them we see in the episodes are in jail, and they have no really, we'll call it hazard pay,
right,
to keep them silent. So, what's the obvious thing we can do? Talk to the DEA and work out a deal.
Right. So the episode starts where it's funny. You see this guy who's pretending if he is a lawyer, he's a really bad one, because he's just, he's got that fake smile. He's signing the papers, and he tells the policewoman, "Oh, I got my paralegal with me today," and it's Mike. And Mike goes in. He's got the suit and tie. It looks quite dapper, I will say, for Mr. Ehrmantraut. And he goes and meets with Dennis, who is running the laundry where the cook site was. And he kind of explains that the feds took all my money away. I can't pay the mortgage. What am I going to tell my wife? Like, this is, but he also says, I'm not a rat. I'm not going to rat on you. But Mike also makes him a promise for keeping that silence.
Yeah, he basically says, like, you'll end up getting your pay regardless of what happened with the DEA. So, you're now thinking, okay, well, Mike is, this is maybe why Mike is starting to get into working with Walter and Jesse, because obviously he needs to make money to keep these guys quiet. And obviously when we see, how they divvy out the money later on, we'll get more into that. But yeah, it's right now it's just hush hush. Don't say anything, but you will be covered here eventually.
Right. Yeah. We're going to work it out. You'll get all the pay that you deserve, and just keep quiet in here and you'll be fine. We pivot to, and obviously Mike goes and talks to every guy. They go to a bunch of different prisons. We don't see it all, but we do see the conversation with Dennis. Pivot to Walt, and this is really a big part of both episodes. Shay, a big theme of it is him moving back in to the house, and his relationship with Skylar is terrible. She seems afraid of him, and he's moving back in without really asking her for permission or her thoughts on the topic.
Yeah, he thinks basically everything's great now. In full context, you got that creepy scene at the end of episode 2 where he's like kind of cradling, rubbing her. It's like, oh, like my precious, or some shit like that. And she sees him bringing all his stuff in, and she's immediately like, oh, like, do you think that's a good idea? Like, maybe you want to ease up on this. But he's full force with it. And she brings up a topic of getting Walter Jr. into boarding school and trying to get him away. It says, oh, he might need a fresh start. And Walter's like, what kind of fresh start, and what kind of bad environment are you talking about here? We live in a peaceful home, a house of God.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And she goes, you're the bad environment around here. Yeah. You're bad. And he goes, like, he's graduating at the end of the year, like, end of conversation, not happening. But this will pick up throughout these 2 episodes as these two basically fight for a power position in the household. Pivot to, they go to meet Saul, And Saul's talking to Jesse and Walter, and he hates that they're involving Mike because Mike, when he was previously working for Gus, threatened to break Saul's legs if he did not get information on where Jesse was in hiding. So basically, the two boys say, man up. Mike's our guy to get our business going, and you're just gonna have to you have to live with it. Like, Mike's here to stay, and he's gonna help us not deal with crazy people like Tuco, which they have in the past.
Yeah, he's like he says, we get a great trio here. We don't need a third, we don't need a fourth amigo, but obviously Mike's useful. And as we see, he's got plenty of resources, including methylamine. But these guys, after this little meeting, they go check out a couple spots. And the first spot is kind of like a cardboard factory. But, obviously, Walter is very particular on where he cooks because, there's so many different factors, who runs it for one, how many people are around, and what kind of chemicals are being used in the factory, which is kind of why they diced this one. The second is, I think, some kind of quesadilla shop or some kind of food
it's like a tortilla.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, tortilla one. And obviously he says, well, we can't use food because if the chemicals were the smell, if they were to get on the food, well, that's a red flag. Plus, you have random inspections coming in and out for any food distribution place. And they're like, oh, okay, they check off a couple boxes, and finally they get to this. I don't know what you call, like a smaller warehouse / garage.
Juggy? Yeah, it's like a smaller version of a just kind of a small town garage. You could see where a lift might have been, but it's not there anymore. A few shelves, and Saul goes, just go ahead and tell me no so we can go eat. And Mike's like, no, basically, like, no, it's not good. Jesse's like, no, this sucks. Like, there's no room. We can't build a lab in here. But Walt's walking around. He goes, no, you guys are right. Yeah, it's actually the perfect place. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? And Walter points to these basically big tarps, these red, yellow and green tarps, and says, this is perfect. And what his connection is that it's the colors of a pest control company, and Vamano's Pest. And his idea is, we get the pest control people, they go in there, they fumigate a home. So if we get in there, we run a meth lab, the smell, the chemicals, nobody, Bob's your uncle, nobody's going to know the difference. And it's the perfect, nobody's going to come in and check because it's, fumigation, unless it's Cosmo Kramer, nobody's going in there. And it's the perfect place to hide in plain sight.
Exactly. Yeah. These places are, they're condemned. So there's once the owner gives the keys over, there's no way they can get back in for anything.
Right.
The place is cleared out. The neighbors aren't going to, what can they say about funny smells? Because, that's just a pesticide. That's just what they're killing the bugs with. So it really works out well. And the fact that they're moving around location to location, they basically are hiding in plain sight under anybody that would be looking for them.
Right. So Saul says, yeah, I know the owner, so we're gonna have to pay him a fee. We'll have to pay money to the 4 employees, but they'll move all the shit in. They stay quiet. And there's one rule Mike has is, okay, these guys are known for stealing. That ends right now. You do not touch a plate. You do not steal a candy, nothing. Everything stays in perfect condition. So to get the equipment, there's another thing. And what do? Well, Jesse calls his buddies, Skinny P and Badger. And I thought this was very clever. They go to a music store, Badger's jamming out, Skinny's playing the piano, and they basically buy 4, I would say, extra large roadie cases, and they store all the equipment in it to cook, and they even get Vamano's Pest on the side, so there's no red flags if if the homeowner sees it wheeled in. He goes, okay, that just must be the equipment for the pesticide.
Yeah. Old Skinny. It was nice to see Skinny Badger. You didn't get to see them a lot at the end of season 4.
Yeah.
But and they're like, hey, we can help you out with something else. And as soon as Mike walks in the room, Mike just gives them a look, and Jesse's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you guys should probably get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. Yeah, this equipment works well, and Jesse even brings it up. Well, we got these little tents that they used back at the laboratory in Mexico. We'll
Mm,
grab some of those, and that way their stuff isn't smelling like methylamine when they get home.
right.
So they really do have a pretty soundproof plan. Obviously, there's a lot of risk with people. You got to make sure the workers aren't going to say anything,
Mm,
and you also got to make sure that you don't get caught by somebody else. So it's a tight-lipped operation, but it also works out really well.
yeah, absolutely. And Jesse, like you said, Jesse and Walt are planning. Jesse brings up the tent. Walt loves it. He goes, "That's a great idea. Like, great." And there's a scene, and boy, was this cringe. Jesse and Walt are sitting there, and Andrea and Brock come in. And if you remember last season, the real reason that Gustavo Fring is dead and Walter isn't is because Walter poisoned young Brock, I would say 8 to 10 years old, probably younger than 10, with the Lily of the Valley plant that he had in the back of his home. And Andrea says, "Why don't you stay for dinner?" And Jesse's like, "Yeah, at least have a beer." He goes, "Yeah, sure." So they go to the kitchen, and Brock is playing on his PSP, and you just see Walt sitting there staring at him, probably looking at the kid saying, "I almost killed this little kid."
You don't think there was any guilt coming from
I do. I
Mr.
think
White?
there was a bit, because I think you looked, and I think you see a kid like that, you think of your own.
Yeah, true. Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, he's got to feel somewhat bad, and it's got to feel somewhat guilty. If you remember, a couple episodes ago when they're looking for the ricin, you got Jesse breaking
Yeah,
down saying, "Oh, I almost killed you because I thought you did this," when really he did not poisoning him.
right. Yeah, so he's sitting there just staring at him. It's a very, very awkward scene, but they get through it. Pivot to the next day. The pest guys have everything set up. You mentioned they're talking to the homeowner. He goes, "God, what kind of chemicals are you guys using?" When he sees the big roadie cases coming in, but the guys are on the payroll. They know what they're doing. Walt and Jesse just have to pull up and start cooking because the tent's set up. All the equipment is there. And what they do is that they cook first, and then they set up basically they turn on the pesticides when they're leaving. But we see a montage of them cooking, and they even share kind of an intimate moment after, in the middle of their cook.
Yeah, probably just waiting for one of the batches to arrive. They're having a couple beers, watching TV, and Walter's like, "Oh, it was really great to see you with Andrea. Like, you guys seem really really great together. It's like almost like a little instant family for you guys. Our." And Walter goes, how much, basically says, "How much have you told her?" And
Mm,
Jesse goes, "I haven't told her anything. Like, I don't plan to." He kind of gets even a little worried probably at this point, knowing Walter's history.
right.
But Walter, gives it right back to him and says, I trust you. If you want to tell her, if you feel comfortable with that, you've earned that right, basically.
Yeah, and I thought he almost implied that he should tell her, because
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I guess he did tell Scott. He did not tell Skylar, and she found out the wrong way, and look how that turned out for him. So at
Yeah.
least he's giving her the chance. They're not married. She can break it off at any moment, and she's out of the line of fire, so to speak. Good
Mhm.
Clint Eastwood movie. But she's not a threat necessarily if there's another Gustavo Fring that comes around, even though. But so I found this was actually a scene from Walter where I thought he was being sincere and not full of shit.
Yeah, which has been rare the last,
Yeah.
even you could say the last season, he hasn't been full of shit. But yeah, but in the back of my mind, Juggy, especially this, after the seeing Walter the last, few seasons, I got to think what's in it. I'm thinking what's the advantage Walter has
Right.
by kind of giving Jesse anything, because he hardly, lets him make his own decisions, let alone tell him everything. Because Walter says, you have free range to tell everything right from Mexico, right to who
Right.
we've killed, what we've done. So it's an interesting thing, but I don't really know. I couldn't even make up an angle in my head last night watching it, thinking, what does Walter gain from it? So maybe he is for once just being, a genuine human being.
Right. Yeah. I think it was just kind of a genuine parent moment, if you will, where he said, if you're going to be with somebody long term and you want it to be successful, you got to be honest with them, because he is in a relationship right now where it is
Yeah.
deteriorating very, very quickly.
Maybe he sees the the ladder of why
Right.
it didn't work for him, and that he could, even though he can't save his own relationship, maybe he can, tell Jesse to save his by actually being truthful for once.
Right. Agreed. So Marie has been very quiet in the show, but we do see her make a reappearance over the next 2 episodes. She goes to see Skylar at the car wash, and she even says that Hank is back at work. He's killing his PT. Thank God for you guys with the money. Who knows where he'd be? He's walking without his cane. He's really doing really, really well. But she also mentions, a big day coming up, which is Walt's birthday. So this is just for reference. Season 5, it's been 1 year basically since all of this has happened. So Tuco, Gus, it's 1 year, if you can believe it. And, Walt was diagnosed a day after his 50th birthday. But Skylar says, I don't think we're going to do anything. It's not really a time to celebrate. And she kind of has she erupts and has a breakdown right in front of Marie.
Yeah, she lights up a dart, and all of a sudden she's just losing it. First, Marie's like, you shouldn't smoke. Like, what is, in front of your employees, kind of harassing her a little bit. And then she just repeatedly yells, "Shut up, shut up, shut up." And Marie's just kind of sitting there flabbergasted, like, what the hell is going on? Because obviously this outbreak to her kind of maybe seemed out of nowhere, but honestly, you could tell even before that, Skylar's face was kind of like not a little mopey, a little disinterested.
Yeah.
She didn't really care about what Marie had to say. She kind of agreeing with her on everything. And obviously this is, a red flag, and this is kind of Skylar's breaking point, if you will, on her and her, current state of affairs with her husband.
Yeah. She didn't know what to do. She had nobody to talk to about. She's living in a home with this guy that she does not trust, that she's worried about her kids. And she basically just had to get it out. And Marie had to take the brunt of it here. But after the cook, Walt returns home and you just see Marie sitting on the couch. And he goes, hi, Marie. Like, how are things? And it's kind of like she's like sitting on a couch outside of a psychiatrist's office, like waiting to go in. She's just like sitting with her bag. And he goes, okay, what's going on? She says, like, Walt, she had a breakdown with me. Like, she just was in hysterics. I couldn't, she just told me to shut up. And she basically says, why is she mad? Like, have you started gambling again? Like, what's going on with Skylar?
Yeah, I mean, and this time she wants answers. She's not walking away with nothing, not walking away empty-handed. And this is another moment where Walter kind of has to basically make something up on the fly. And this cringy scene, but reveals to Marie that Skylar was having an affair with Ted. And Ted is, as we remember at the end of the season 4, Ted is pretty banged up from running head into his countertop, and basically, he's
basically paralyzed.
Walter said he basically might never ever walk again. And she said Skylar's taking it really hard right now. Obviously maybe some still feelings. And Marie is shocked by this. She's like, what? Like, Skylar? And it's like, what the hell is this all about? But there's a repetitive, almost notion to the show, Juggy, where Walter continuously lies, and the both of them kind of cover for Walter. So by making Skylar looks bad, like she's continually the bad person in every situation, whether it's with her son, whether it's with Marie now, thinking she's cheated, or she's the bitch mom, she's the the unfaithful wife. But it's really Walter's the bad guy, and he's the one who's causing all this, but they can't tell them the truth, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking about this more as you're saying that. This is why when we watched it the first time, I mean, I think we both talked about this, we hated Skylar. I remember my first watch, I'm like, oh, I hate Skylar. Okay. yes, Walt's a terrible human being, but why? Like, he's just trying to make this family better. But in this moment, he just got rid of Gus. He wants to cook again. Like, you're in a situation that's okay. And she's well within her right to feel this way. And you're right. She's taking blow after blow, or people look at her so little compared to what they used to, including her own sister. And this is why we thought that, because the show is kind of throwing the narrative at us that she is this bad person, but she's not at all. I mean, you could say she's bad for hiding Walt's secret, but in reality, what wife wouldn't? A lot of them would hide this secret for their husband and, face the consequences after. But I think this is why we as people in general, the Twitterverse, what have you, have such a little opinion of Skylar.
Yeah. If you look in hindsight and just kind of scope in on her life and, what she's been through, the lies that she's been put through, and then everything that's gone on with Ted and trying to deal with that over the end of the last season, trying to reason with someone who's just unreasonable is all she seems to do half the time.
Yeah.
So
point.
it's a tough gig. And obviously over a cumulative year, like, she's probably just felt that weight, kind of crush her in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. She's got no reprieve from it. And she's never had a happy moment because she's just always on edge. And it's even more tense because Marie's like, oh my God. And she even gives Walter a hug when she's leaving, which is even worse because he does not deserve that sympathy hug because he's been bad. But so that happens. So Walt doesn't go wake her up. She's in her bedroom. She wakes up, and this is even worse from Walt. Junior and Walt are sitting on the couch watching Scarface. So there's the TV is loud, guns everywhere. If you've seen that movie, there's a lot of killing in that film, a lot. And, she just wakes up to them watching Scarface. They're like, come join us in the pitch black. And she's just like, oh my God, this is my life.
Yeah. She's got her sociopath husband just sitting there like, and God forbid, Walter probably thinks of himself on an even level, or even stepping stones with Tony Montana. So, yeah, I mean, she's just in a bad spot right now where she just can't catch a break. Like, and we see over the course of the next episode, she takes a drastic measure kind of to get a break from everything.
Right. So we then go to Mike. He's got his new distributor. They got their money. It's going to be $365,000 each. Pretty good haul. However, Walt's like, okay, wait, that's not enough. Like, we're short. Like, that should be more. And, Mike goes, well, you were dealing with Gus last time. You're the owners. You got to pay for your drivers. And he goes, we got to pay that much for a driver? And he goes, yeah, you need that much for a driver. Gus didn't need that because he had an enterprise, but you decided to kill him. So deal with it. Which is, I love that little shot from Mike because Mike still hates him, but he knows he has to deal with him for now to get money for Kaylee and his daughter-in-law. So he says, yeah, they get a handling fee. Walt's like, okay, fine. A little more than I'd like to spend, but whatever. Give me my money. Well, no, hold up. We have to give money to the pest guys. The owner gets a good chunk, $10,000 each employee, had $100,000 legacy pay. And this is really where Walt starts to lose it. And he says, what the hell is legacy pay?
Yeah. So then this is what we referred to earlier. Legacy pay is paying off the 9 remaining guys who basically have to keep their mouth shut. And Walter goes, well, that's blackmail. Like, they're blackmailing us.
Yeah.
And Mike doesn't see it this way. He's like, those are my guys. They're loyal to me. I'm loyal to them because I'm going to pay them basically because that was the agreement. This is the hazard pay we agreed upon. And, this is not changing. And Walter's like, no, like, this is ridiculous. I'm not paying. You can feel that there's a fight going to break out. Yeah. And Jesse butts in and says, no. Like, I'll pay this, this is coming out of my wallet. And this is where Walter he doesn't want Jesse to favor one way or the other.
Yeah.
And favor Mike. So he says, no, like I'll eat my chunk.
Yeah. He goes, no, I'll pay my way. No big deal. Yeah. Even though it does nothing to help me, I'll do it. Yeah. For the good of the group. And so they only make 137,000 each. And so they're leaving. Walt is just still livid, you can tell, but Jesse wants to kind of talk more human stuff. He goes, yeah, I broke up with Andrea. I just couldn't do it. I'm still going to pay for her living and whatnot. That's the right thing to do. But I just think for her and Brock's safety, it's for the best. And Walt just butts in, says, you're okay with this, with the money? Like, you're cool, like, with this little amount of money? Yeah. And Jesse's just like, well, like, we're employers now, not employees. You got to look at that benefit. And Walt kind of brings it back to a weird place where he starts talking about Victor.
Yeah, he brings up, he's like, I always thought, Gus killed Victor because he wanted to send us a message. But looking back, I think that there was more than one perspective to slicing his throat. And basically he says that, Victor tried to cook a batch and, went a little out of scope of what he was supposed to be doing. And maybe that's why Gus killed him. Yeah. And then, so he doesn't say it directly, but what is he referring to here, Juggy?
I think he's referring to Mike, myself. I think he's talking about Mike stepping out of line. That's how I took it.
Me too. Yeah. He doesn't directly say it, but he gives the intention that maybe Mike is biting off more than he can chew.
Right.
And here's my next question. Is Mike biting off more than can chew? Because, those weren't technically Walter and Jesse's guys who, were covering for them and did all that dark stuff. Do you think that they're, spending money they shouldn't have to, or do you think that's fair considering they're part of the operation?
I would say probably for everybody there, it's not fair to pay for everybody per se. But I would say with Dennis, who's at the laundry every day, it absolutely is, because he knows who they are. He could point them out in 2 seconds and be like, yeah, this is Heisenberg. Yeah, it's Walter White, So I think indirectly they're thinking, I don't know any of these people. They don't do anything for me. But, if they didn't pay them, they'd be in prison right there with Mike. So I do think he has an argument here.
Yeah, you basically have to. And yeah, no, that's kind of where I got with that. I hummed and hawed about it last night thinking, well, God, that doesn't seem right that they take that blow when, they weren't at the top, but I guess neither was Mike either. He was basically
kind of a cog in the machine.
One underneath. Yeah. So in order to keep everything kind of running smoothly, that pay does have to be necessary, unfortunately.
Yeah. So that's where that episode ended. We start episode 4, titled 51, with Walt and Junior at an auto shop. They're fixing up the Aztec, getting the bumps out. Again, he's killed a few people with this car. It went through the plane crash, and this guy's going through like, this didn't happen last time. At least the windshield wasn't broke, and he's going through it. And he goes, they don't make them like this anymore. I think you could probably get another, 200,000 miles on this thing. And Walt just pipes up and says, yeah, well, what do you want for it? He goes, I just told you can keep it for a long time. He goes, no, like, how about $50? And the guy goes, you shitting me? And he goes, yeah, $50, and it's yours. And Junior's like, Dad, $50? Like, it's a shitty deal. He just priced it out. You could get, at least 20,000 for it. And he goes, nah, $50. He says, okay, I'll go to the register. And Walt sells him the whip.
Yeah. And ironically, what is in the whip? What's in the Aztec, Juggy, that he finds and, kind of maybe changes that personality that reserved Walter White?
It would be the fedora. And, that's where he pivots to Heisenberg. And what does he do right after? He goes and buys himself he goes and gets a black Dodge Charger, and he pulls up in the driveway. Junior's in his little love bug there, the purple little whip. And he kind of looks at his dad like, So the next scene we go, they pull into the driveway. He's still in his black Charger, but Junior's back in the black and red Challenger that he bought him in season 4. And they're both revving the engine and clearly doing something they shouldn't have done.
Yeah, funny. It's a funny little montage. You got the techno music going. They're both like laughing, revving the engines, and the whole time Walter's wearing his Heisenberg hat because I think that's his way of saying like, I'm back, baby.
Yeah.
But no, it's definitely not a great move. But I mean, here we are, and this only to me the beginning of this episode says, okay, something is seriously going to go wrong because Walter got one payday and thinks that, he's fucking Warren Buffett. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe you had a different reaction to it, but I was like, okay, there's clearly some bad intentions with Walter reverting back to his old ways.
Yeah, he's thinking he's Gus, after one cook, that he's got this empire and he's been doing it for 5 minutes, but he's buying 2 very expensive vehicles, a red flag, and he doesn't seem to care. So we pivot to Lydia, who works at Madrigal Electromotive, the parent company, as you mentioned, to Los Pollos Hermanos, and she's in her office on a conference call with the Germans, and she basically Mike calls her on her burner with a heads up that the DEA is arriving. He goes, yeah, they're going to be there in like 30 seconds. And she goes, why didn't you call me earlier? She goes, I just did. And he hangs up the phone, and in comes into her office, Hank, Gomi, and a bunch of DEA agents, and she brings them to the warehouse.
Yeah. So they go to the warehouse. She's kind of walking around in her little, her little high heels, and she points out a guy, and, clearly this guy, we find out later through the board they have, I guess, of the drug empire. Yeah. He's one of the guys that was on the payroll, and he was a prime suspect. So he gets taken out, and it's kind of this awkward scene where she's at the end of this like long shelving, and she's just kind of like peeking over the corner to see what happens, and he looks over at her, and clearly she gets very spooked over this.
Yeah, he gives her like a death stare, and she's just like getting the hell out of there. So he gives her the dirty look. So she goes upstairs. She calls Mike and says, Mike, this is a problem. Like, Ron, he gave me the methylamine. Like, he was my guy. Like, what are we going to do? He goes, well, don't worry. I'll send a new guy. And she goes, what do you mean new guy? He goes, there'll be a new guy. And he just that's Mike ends every phone call that way. Just like, yeah, there'll be a new guy there. Like, don't worry. Business still go. So he hangs up the phone with her, and she's very uneasy about the whole situation.
Yeah, she's funny. She's like, yeah, like, these guys walked in so calm, so like not aggressive whatsoever. Yeah. And on the phone, she's like, yeah, they came in with guns, they started yelling at me. Yeah. So we clearly see that Lydia is not only paranoid, but she's also a little bit of
dramatic,
tight ass, we'll say. Yeah. In the sense that she thinks everybody's out to get her.
Yes, yeah, it's absolutely true. So we'll pivot back to Walt and Skylar. So that night they're going to bed, and he says, don't worry, the car is not going to be a big deal because it's going to fit with our story. We leased them. No big red flags there. Like that's fine. And he also puts a bunch of cash on the table right next to her and says, we're good for money. Like pats her on the hand, implying that he's back in the game.
Yeah, and Skylar, if she wasn't worried before, she's super paranoid now, thinking like, oh, like shit, like we just got out of a mess, and now you're basically trying to get us back into one. But she's still quiet. Like this whole few episodes, Skylar is very like she's not saying what she thinks. Yeah. She's just basically agreeing with everybody, and it's. This is kind of the episode where she blows up on Walter. We'll see after. And she's just not saying anything. So she kind of crawls into bed there, and Walter kind of sneaks in beside her. Like, oh, by the way, it's my birthday tomorrow. And says, you don't have to have a party. You probably already thought of something, but that's okay. You can have it.
Yeah.
And then basically goes, well, and also my cake, chocolate with chocolate icing.
Yeah.
And Skylar's disinterested. She doesn't probably give a shit, but she's like, this guy has the nerve. I already hate him, and he's basically requested a birthday party and what he wants to eat with it.
Yeah, not to mention the next morning, her thing is to spell out the your birth date in bacon, and she didn't do it at first. But then Junior's like, "Do it, do it." And he goes, Walter's like pushing, yeah, like it'd be nice, like we did that. She comes over, she spells out 51, but it's a super small piece, and he goes, that's kind of lame. Poking at her, and eventually she just throws a big strip on the plate, and he goes, there you go, there you go. But he just doesn't read the room that she's not interested in helping him at any point. But that's Walter for you. So we pivot to Hank at the DEA, and him and Gomi having a meeting with a higher up, and they say, we're still trying to figure this out. We're working into Madrigal, but we're going to set up a tail on Mike Ehrmantraut, the head of security. We think this guy's going to tell us a lot about what's going on here. But the higher ups tells Gomi to leave, and he says to Hank, you've been right this whole time. All this information, it's been all you. You're a great cop, Hank. And I got to go back to El Paso, which is what Hank used to do. But we need somebody to run this office. We need a boss here. And he offers Hank the job to basically be the manager of the New Mexico DA task force.
Yeah, and a huge honor. And he accepts, basically saying like his wife would kill him if he said no. It also means though that he's no longer on cases. He'd be looking over all the cases, so he would basically be out of the field and kind of just a desk jockey, and kind of micromanaging the offices. So
right,
it interests me because I thought back to when he was offered to go back to El Paso, and he basically denied it so that he could follow the blue meth.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, is he going to do this again? And he did not. He just kind of he sucked it back and said, yeah, I got to take this opportunity. It's one of the best.
Yeah.
Small piece before this, Chuggy. This is like a little shout out to him. Hank was so detailed that so when they arrived in Lydia's office, Lydia had two different pairs of shoes on, but they're so close in color that you would basically think that they were the same. And he's talking with Gomi. He goes, I don't know, like she seems kind of scrambled, and she goes, she wore two different types of shoes to the office. But me or you would notice that. But little credit to Hank, is he's an eye for detail in that sense, that he's so good.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. An illustration of just how good of a cop he is, knowing his surroundings, knowing who he's tailing. Yeah, I forgot to pick up on that. So Walt has his day. He's, heading home, expecting a big party. Still not reading that Skylar hates his guts at this point. But he gets home, no cars in the driveway. So he's like, okay, yeah, it's a surprise inside. Walks in. Junior's just sitting there watching the Diamondbacks or something. He goes, hey, Dad, how was the day? Good. Looking around like, where's your mother? In the kitchen. So he goes and sees her, and she basically says, yeah, Hank and Marie are coming over, pot roast for dinner, and I got your cake. So, yeah, she goes, oh, that's good. But he's clearly disappointed that it's not something bigger.
Yeah, you're almost happy by the disappointment.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Hank and Marie, they're driving, and Marie, it's obviously off. Hank's like, are you not happy? I got the promotion, and she's like, no, I'm happy. And Hank's, pestering. He's like, oh, so what's on your mind? And she goes, well, I can't tell. The person I promised this to, I can't tell. And he goes, okay, well, whatever. He's like, can you at least give me a clue or anything? And she just says, yeah, is it infidelity, or what's the word I'm looking for, Dougie? Basically like affair. She says affair, and she goes, oh,
yeah.
And he goes, oh, it's Walter. That makes sense. The second cell phone.
Yeah.
And she goes, not Walt. And, you get this awkward, it's funny, you get this awkward scene where they're both gloomy in the car, but they
Yeah.
open the front door and they're both bright-eyed and bushy-faced, smiling,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
hey, guys.
Happy
And
birthday, buddy. How you doing?
yeah, it's obviously tough news to get. But and eating supper there, and you could tell the whole supper, and while they're
Oh,
outside, Skylar is off. Like she's hardly saying a word. She's just kind of sipping on her wine, basically just kind of disinterested in anything that anyone has to say.
right. Yeah, exactly. They start, and Junior departs to go for a drive in the new whip. And they start talking about, Walt goes in this long soliloquy. He goes, it's going to be a year tomorrow. I got diagnosed. He says, this past year has been tough, like with the gambling, and Skylar's been so supportive. And I remember early, shaving my head, being on the floor, puking, and her just being there, comforting me. And he goes, do you remember that, honey? And she goes, she just walks away from the table completely unannounced. She's standing by the pool. This is at nighttime. It's not a heated pool, by the way. This is very much just, it's there more for show than for use. And as he keeps going and going, she puts her feet in the pool and she keeps going in and going in. And he's talking and talking. And eventually she just gets in and everybody's like, whoa, Skylar, like probably time to get out kind of thing. Marie even gets up, but Skylar just goes completely underneath, goes below the surface and staring lifeless, like she's ready to die in that moment.
Yeah, she's just staring into the abyss, really. And Walter dives in the pool, basically drags her out. And there's a scene where Walter and Hank are sitting there at the table afterwards, and they're like, oh, like, man, has she ever done anything like that? And he goes, no. Walter's like, I don't know what's going on with her. And Hank kind of makes this, he basically says, I know, like, I know what's happened between you and Walter, referring to Skylar and Ted.
Yeah.
And Hank's like, oh, that's tough, man, like, that's it's brutal. And Walter's just like, yeah, like, I just don't know what to do anymore. I didn't think it was this bad.
Right. So Hank says, well, you should go see a marriage counselor. Like, go, Marie loves this Dave. Like, go see him. And he goes, yeah, no, you're probably right. Like, we should do that. But then Marie comes over and she says, well, why don't we take the kids for, a couple days, a week, whatever it is. And he's like, no, I can't. That's an imposition. I can't do that to you. But she goes, no, I have the cutest niece in the world. And Junior's great around the house. We love having him. Like, and Hank's he's very much supportive. He goes, no, of course, we got plenty of room. Like, I love having the kids. And, they don't have their own kids, but I think Hank really does love the kids. Like, he's very much, would do anything for them. But Walter's antenna is raised in this moment. And he goes, was this your idea, or did you just come up with this, or what do you think of this? And Marie goes, actually, it was Skylar's idea.
Yeah, and he's on full alert at this point.
Yeah.
And it kind of shift changes. Obviously Hank and Marie have taken the kids. He kind of walks into the room. He's like, okay, like, you got your wishes. Like, I don't know what your big show about there, referring to her jumping in the pool, going for a little dip.
Yeah.
And getting the kids away, but like, you've won. Like, I don't know what you're thinking, but this is it. And he calls her out. He's like, I know you're not sleeping, because Skylar loves to do this thing where she turns on her side and pretends, maybe either she's sleeping or just not listening.
Right.
And finally we get the blow up that we've been waiting 4 episodes now for.
She says, the kids are not in a good environment. It's not safe here. She says, the fact that you're running things around here, says you're the danger around here. I don't care. You've killed people. They could be in the crosshairs. You're back cooking again. They're not going to be here. They'll be at Hank and Marie's for the rest. I'll support you. I'll go through the money with the laundry. But as long as you're doing this, as long as you're alive, they are not going to be in this home and exposed to the potential threat that you would provide, would give them, basically.
Yeah. And as much as she's given it to Walter, she gives it to herself and basically says, I'm just as much a part of this as you are now.
Yeah.
Like I've been cleaning your dirty money, for months now. So I'm no better than you. So basically she's kind of, self-sabotaging herself. And Walter's just like, well, what are you going to do? Like keep these kids away from us for, the rest of the time? Like, no, we're her parent, or like, we're their parents. Like, we love them.
Yeah.
And they got to come home at some point. Like, Marie and Hank aren't just going to take care of them forever. And it's like, well, what's your plan? Like, and, uh, um, Skylar goes like, I'll send them away to boarding school, or I'll send them away somewhere. And, Walter's like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I want. You got 1 year left, Walter Jr. I'm going to send you away just to ruin your last year and have no friends.
Yeah.
What else you got? And Walter's just kind of giving it to her, saying like, your plan sucks, basically, is what he's trying to get at. And Skylar goes, I don't have a plan. I'm not you. I don't have some genius plan going on, but every minute that they're away from here, I consider that a victory. Any minute they're away from you.
Right. And she goes, okay, well, if I can't send them off, maybe I'll show up to a family function with a black eye, and Hank will start asking questions and they'll start looking into you. And he goes, oh yeah, you're going to do that? Okay. Well, because you're so erratic now, because you're so crazy, you're having outbursts trying to drown yourself, maybe I'll have you institutionalized, and I'll bring the kids home with only me here, and you'll just be that crazy wife in the hospital. And every plan she has, he basically has a retort. And her only really option right now is to keep the kids at Hank Marie's as long as possible, because she's in a tough position here.
Yeah, and she ends this argument with a dagger of a line and goes, no, I just have to wait. And Walt goes, what the hell are you waiting for? And she ends it with, I'm just waiting for the cancer to come back.
Right.
And it's like a bombshell, really, when you think about that, like that one liner really, and we see it really strikes a chord with Walter, as he's like, okay, my wife hates me this much that she just mentioned that she wants me to die indirectly. Like, it's basically what she just told me. And we see the next day Walter's just kind of sitting there at the table, and he's off, and he went from probably his highest of highs to maybe one of his lowest of lows.
Yeah, this was definitely tough for him to process. And so back to Lydia, she's at Madrigal. She's waiting for the new guy, and she opens up the gate, and it's Jesse. And he goes, hey. And she goes, what? Who are you? She goes, I'm the guy. I'm the new guy. And he goes, well, how do you know? And he goes, lady, I'm here to pick up some friggin' methylamine and get the hell out of here. Okay, I got an 18-hour drive. Let's go. She goes, okay, what's Mike's last name? And he goes, Ermintrout. Is that okay? Can we get going here? So he gets on the forklift, goes to get the barrel of methylamine, but before he can get it to the ground, Lydia points out this marker on the bottom of it. And she says, oh, look, it's tagged. The DEA, they're tracking it. And basically Jesse goes home with nothing.
Yeah. And it's kind of this alerting scene, like, damn, like they're actually on to them now. And like, they're planting these, markers here, and, going home empty handed, obviously, raises some high alerts. Mike is like, what? Like, they're like, he goes, why didn't they put it inside the barrel? And it's like, oh, well, it'll be exposed to the methylamine, probably just ruin it. And, Mike's not satisfied. He's like, this doesn't seem right. Who spotted this? And Jesse goes, well, she did. And he goes, yep, I'm taking her out. I was a sexist last time, and now she's got to go. Like, this is enough of this bitch.
Right. And Jesse's quickly says, no, like, no, we need her. We need the methylamine to cook. And Walter pipes in. He says, no, Jesse's right. Don't kill her. They vote. Says, we're not stopping. We're not stopping anytime soon. We're only getting started. And it's this big reveal. Jesse's kind of worried about it. He goes out and sees Walt and he goes, "Are you okay?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm good." But he also reveals that he bought Walt a watch for his birthday.
Yeah, bought them a nice little, well, everything they've been through, and it's kind of our.
So yeah, the watch, obviously he gets the watch from Jesse, and it's very thoughtful because he's gotten nothing from anybody else. Marie, we hadn't seen Marie give him a gift. Junior hasn't mentioned anything, and he bought the car for himself. But he's done so much bad stuff to Jesse, and this kind of just shows Jesse's heart because he gets him a really nice watch, really thoughtful gift, and Walt, thinks enough of it. He puts it on when he before he gets home.
Yeah, Walt. Well, you got to think about it. Walter's probably never gave Jesse a goddamn thing in his life, so it's kind of
No.
like, besides maybe PTSD.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a nice gesture. And the funny scene is, I guess Walter obviously arrives home. No kids still. Skylar's kind of sitting in the living room smoking darts
Yeah.
and basically putting them out into a coffee cup, and just kind of doing her thing there in her nightgown. And Jesse or Walter comes in. He's like, "Oh, like, how's your day?" Trying to be chipper, trying to maybe lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah.
But she's not having any of it, and basically he just goes, "Okay, well, worst case, he just talks business." He says, I got another I got some more cash coming in, and I need you to deal with it." And she goes, "Yeah, okay."
Right. And he goes, I know you're mad at me right now, but just a few weeks ago, the man who bought me this watch wanted me dead. And, they changed their mind about me. And he goes, "So will you." And he goes off to bed and he goes, "You coming?" Knowing the answer. She just continues to sit there smoking cigarettes. And that's kind of how the episode ends. We see him get into bed, but he's in the room, she's in the living room, and there's that separation between the two. That's still, they're very much apart. He wants the family home. He thinks nothing's wrong. They're in a great environment. The kids are safe. I'm the owner now. There's no risk. But, to contrast that, Shay, her argument is, well, Gus was the boss. You killed him. Why couldn't you be the Gus coming up? And, I think Skylar has a lot of really good points here as to why she does not want her kids with Walter and instead wants her family with a DEA agent.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And it's funny you mentioned that because, well, sorry, blanked out for a second there. If you think that, Walter were to walk away at that point, Gus is dead. If he weren't to go back to cooking meth, do you think there was any way that Skylar would go back to him, or things could be somewhat the way they were? Or do you think it's such a tarnished relationship at that point that they, you forget all about it?
I don't think it'd ever be the same, like as good as it was when he was first diagnosed, but I do think it could be better because if he's completely out, the only people that knew about it are presumably dead other than Jesse, but she doesn't really know his connection to it. So threat's gone. Hank's safe. He can get back to work. There's no direct ties to Walter anymore. They can just go on and live a normal life. Then I don't think the relationship would be great, but I do think they'd have a better chance of having some long-term success, maritally when it comes to just being pleasant around one another.
Yeah. I think the real coffin in the real nail in the coffin comes when he puts that money on the table and basically says, "I'm back."
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, this he's basically addicted to the game at this point. If you think about it, he could go back to teaching.
Yep.
B, he has the car wash, so it's not like they have no sufficient income coming in, so he doesn't really have to. So at this point, to her, it kind of looks like, well, he's just doing that because he loves the power and he loves the rush at this point of being a criminal.
Right. And if he does get cancer again, which is, it's going to happen regardless, it's a matter of time. Like she said, they had the car wash. She has her own business that she can rely on after the fact. So it's not like they're up shit creek without a paddle like they were before, where she was pregnant, unemployed, and, she wouldn't be able to pay the mortgage. So it's more ego and selfishness as to why he's back in the game now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, and I guess the beginning of the season, we see Walter walk into a diner. It's his 52nd birthday.
Yeah.
So we know at this point, a year from now, where whatever happens, where he's living in, Massachusetts or Boston
Right.
or wherever the hell he is at,
Yeah.
a year from then to this moment is, kind of is where things spiral. We at least know he's alive in a year, but we
Yeah.
don't know what happens in the coming time. So lots to talk about coming up. Love the way this episode ends. It's on there's a little shot where it's on the new watch and it's a
Yeah.
ticking. No, it's just the time ticking down. And to
Yeah.
my opinion, and the way I took it was like something's coming up because time is ticking down for Walter, and he's either going to get bad news or something's going to happen to him here soon.
Yeah, it's going too well for him right now because it never stays positive for very
Yeah.
long for old Walter White. But yeah, that puts a wrap on these two episodes. Two really interesting ones. We will, like I said, a couple of interesting ones coming up as well, where there's still a lot to deal with when it comes to the legacy pay, which we'll touch on. There's the past people we learn more about and kind of what one of the employees is all about and who he's related to, which has a huge part on the tenor of this season. But rest of the week, Shay, what do you got on the go? Any big sporting events you're looking forward to? Anything planned the rest of the week?
No, probably taking Leafs tonight. Excited to watch them after not being able last couple games I wasn't able to watch. So that's probably a little NBA. Things have gotten really good. You get to see some teams stink, but you also get to see my Celtics stink, I guess you could say, but other teams flourish, and Golden State and a lot of those great teams out west. So no, just taking it all in and interested to see where Carlos Correa lands in the MLB.
Yeah, some moves today. Obviously, Jose Barrios re-ups in Toronto. Thor, aka my namesake, Noah Syndergaard, is going to the Angels. You saw Eduardo Rodriguez go to the Tigers yesterday. So it's interesting to see some players where you usually don't see this much movement this early, but
No, not
there's
at all.
likely going to be a lockout December 5th when this year ends, MLB. So it's interesting to see players sign now because they're going to get that contract, so it's interesting to see that kind of move. It kind of makes it more depressing because you're thinking, okay, yeah, there's definitely going to be a lockout. No baseball, likely pushed back, which is terrible for the sport because the pandemic killed it and they can't have another 60-game season. They can't financially afford to do that. So, but the way these two sides work, it doesn't bode well for long-term success with the PA and with Major League Baseball.
No, greedy owners last time. Hopefully they're less greedy this time. But like you said, it's not looking like it. Well, what about yourself? Any pods coming up? Interesting ones or anything sporting wise looking forward to?
Warriors Celtics, not Warriors. Warriors and the Nets tonight. That's interesting. At two really great NBA teams, so I'm looking forward to that matchup. Yeah. Even though it's two Canadian teams, you'd probably surprise you. Oilers Jets tonight is a game that I have circled. Both those teams are playing really good hockey right now, and I think both teams are playing well. So that's a game I also have circled, and yeah, I'm gonna chat with our buddy Ben Murray later in the week. Gonna be checking out some of the Monctonian later in the week, the Major Midget AAA Challenge. So watch some of that and try to catch my first Q game of the year with Bathurst and Moncton. So a couple different things. Get out and see the youngsters, and the Q's been off to a good start. So hopefully get to a game later in the week.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta make a little trip up to the John, and we gotta check out TD Station. A little action going on sometime.
That's what they call it now. It's not the harbor.
I call it TD Station, but I think it's always notoriously called the Haba.
Yeah.
The Haba.
Yeah. Mark Wahlberg in the house. Did you watch that Red Notice on Netflix?
Personally didn't throw it on, but one day I was home and my brother, who notoriously watches, both my brother and my dad both watch bad movies, or I think so. They got the little warming in them, I think, and I caught the end of it. It looked awful.
Yeah,
It,
I don't plan on watching it.
Yeah. You got big dummy and funny guy and good looking woman. That's the premise of the movie.
Right. Yeah. I don't know why The Rock gets so many roles because he can't act.
Oh, he's in everything. Like
Yeah.
he touches all platforms now. Not to mention there was a Netflix movie, so there's going to be tainted on that. Question for you though, before we wrap up,
Yeah.
Leo is coming out with a movie in December with Netflix. Does that taint his career, or is that kind of, is that like, everyone's doing it, might as well do it too, get your bag?
I guess it depends on the movie, how it goes, but I haven't seen many great Netflix originals, or any for that matter. But I'm surprised he's doing it, quite frankly.
Yeah.
He must have got a good paycheck, which, kudos to you.
How can you blame him? Yeah.
But
Anyone listening, it's called Don't Look Up or Look Up or something like that. Go look it up. You too, go look it up, and maybe next week we'll see if it sparked an interest. If you're like, okay, this is looking like a gong show, then
yeah,
then we'll talk about it when we come
I
out. But yeah, no,
I'm looking forward to House of Gucci. That's my
yeah,
next.
that looks like
I'm
a good
going to
movie.
see that in theaters no matter what.
Yeah. I have to say, anytime he's in a movie, Adam Driver usually does a fairly good job. He's kind
Yeah.
of up there with the elite now.
Yeah, and I mean Pacino, even though he's a vet, he's still very good too. So I think that's gonna be a really good movie.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see. I thought Lady Gaga got a lot of praise for playing a singer in whatever that was called, Shallow or
A Star Is
Star.
Born.
Yeah, she played a singer, a musician. She is a musician, so that probably took a lot of creativity. But I'm interested to see what she does playing a non-musician. So I'll give her more credit in this role. So I'm interested to see how she does there.
Yeah, me too. It looks like it's gonna be a phenomenal movie, and I'm making an early prediction. Oscar worthy coming from her. I'm telling you right now.
Wow.
Calling it. Haven't even seen it.
Yeah, I
I think she's
saw
up
the
there.
first 35 minutes of Stars Born and I couldn't finish it. So I really hope I can finish this one. But Bradley Cooper took 2 years to make it, and it had its moments in that 35 minutes. But Shay, always a pleasure. We'll be back next Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll talk soon.
Take care, laddie.
All right, everybody. Have a great week. Stay healthy, stay safe. And like I just said, we'll talk soon.